Dear Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to see you and meet up with you. And unfortunately, we are only in Zoom, but it's still great to connect with you this way.
Yeah, it's a way of connecting. We learned this at COVID, right? If you cannot hug,
Definitely.
then we go online.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So, firstly, I just have to mention for those listening that the link to you, I found you through our mutual friend Maria in Bergen.
Hmm.
You might not be aware of this, but speaking of COVID, back in March of 2020, we were both supposed to take part of her festival, the Zen in the City. I was also invited to that festival, which unfortunately was, of course, cancelled and everything happened from there.
Hmm.
So I have known about you for several years, but this is the first time I get to meet you.
Thank you. That's so nice to hear.
So for those who haven't discovered your extensive world yet, please, Tim, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Tim van der Vliet. It's a Dutch name, you know. You Norse, you can pronounce it. And I'm living in Amsterdam. I have a wife and 5 kids, and it's well, same weather almost as in Norway. Like now it's sunny today, and I have been working. It started out my career started out in the stock market. So I've been like a real hardcore stock market trader, you know, with the
Wow.
colored jackets and screaming quote and making gestures and buy and sold like that. And then at a certain moment, I felt I was burning out and it was time for a change. So this is where I became interested in yoga and not only yoga like every day, but also the pranayama techniques, you know, breath of fire, kapalabhati, you know, like breathing techniques like that. And then about 8, 9 years ago, I met Wim Hof. We became friends. I became a Wim Hof method instructor, and I started traveling all over the world, or all over the world, mainly Scandinavia, London, Amsterdam, of course, and Brazil and the United States. And I host retreats in Argentina, Spain, Portugal.
Wow.
Just I pick a beautiful place in the world. Like in September, we're going to Japan, like really amazing, climbing Mount Fuji. And I was triggered by Wim to pick up cold exposure and learn a different kind of breathing techniques, deep breathing combined with breath holds.
Yes.
And after doing that, so I met him 9 years ago and I started like doing this every day. And after like 4 or 5 years, I became a bit bored with doing the same technique all the time. And I took his techniques and funneled it into a very simple technique that was then my own technique that is called TT. TT is from Tim's techniques. And these techniques are so efficient and more applicable to, you know, normal people have kids and are busy. They don't have an hour time in the morning to do
Mm.
like a morning routine. And my techniques can be very short, and like a 5 minute morning routine is already good enough. And
Mm.
apart from, so I developed already 6 breathing techniques, and the most famous are TT Energy for energy, TT Calm to calm down, and TT DMT to have a natural DMT release. This is kind of like, how do you say this? DMT is a molecule that gives you trust in the future, and it like improves your intuition. You're like good with life and you trust
Mm.
the future. So that's what it does for me. So these are my most important breathing techniques. But then Tim's techniques also consists of exercises and cold exposure.
Right.
And
So
so,
just to rewind a little bit, Tim, before we dive deeper into the different techniques. So, when you mention your background as a stock market, broker, what kind of symptoms did you suffer? How did you notice that something was off in your life? Because I know so many of the listeners probably can relate to being stuck in a life that they really didn't sign up for.
well, I had 2 jobs in the stock market. First, it was the open outcry, the colored jackets, the trading pit, and then I worked together. I worked for a Swiss algo trading company. That means that computer programs do the trading. So that was my second job. And my first job ended with losing all my money in 6 months' time. So I completely crashed and like hit rock bottom. And then I started working for this algo trading company, which is called Source Capital. And it was the source of my capital. So I made some money again. And then the last year, it was like, I've never been truly in a burnout because just in time I get out. Yeah, but for a year time, I started losing my energy, and I was hired for my energy. You know, in a research team with coders, and I was there to give energy. Basically, this is also really what I learned there. But it was a bit of a toxic environment with very angry and worrying people and stuff like that. You know. And the last year, I was just, you know, it went further and further. And at a certain moment, the last month, I came in the office and I either wanted to follow my knees and start crying or turn around and walk away. And that was for me the sign that it's time to move on, you know?
So you then moving on without, is that correct? You quit your job without knowing what's your next stop, or what kind of a sacrifice do you actually make in order to turn your life around?
Well, in the last 2 years, I call this my open up phase. So although I was in a hardcore corporate environment, I started becoming interested in what's there more in life. You can call it spirituality, you can call it self-growth, reading self-help books, stuff like that. And in the 2 years, so the last 2 years of my career, I started writing down things. And then when I stopped, I thought like, maybe it's time to publish a book. And I met a good friend of mine and she designed it. And this is how my book got published. And this made me...
What's the name of your book?
The name is Spiritual Awakening, The Easy Way. And it has, the easy way is more for me because it contains very little words, like 6,000. It's a 20-minute read, you know, with big letters and designs and stuff like that. And on the cover is a white English bulldog, and that is my guru, the neighbor's dog. You know, instead of the Indian guru with a beard, you know, it was the neighbor's dog. I actually have a really cool book trailer on YouTube about it. It's so funny. So it's a bit of a joke, you know, although also the philosophy is still what I hold on to. I still believe the same as I've written then. And then it was published by Hay House, an English publisher, and that made me travel to England, to London, namely, to give courses. You know, I thought, okay, you publish a book, you publishers sell my book, we're done. They're like, no, now you have to teach. So I was kind of drawn into teaching. So I became like a meditation or personal growth instructor. And then since 8 years, I moved to breath work because I can bring people now in 1 minute time in a deeper meditation. And also I do a lot of corporate sessions. So really people in suits that don't do meditation or yoga or stuff like that. That's all woo-woo. But within 1 minute, I can get them through breathing into a deep, deep form of meditation without what I used to need like an hour for that before, you know?
So we haven't talked about this up front, Tim, but would you mind, could we practice a breathing technique like now, like for those listening? And for me, just like if could you guide me into a simple breathing, one of your signature breathing exercises?
Yes. So what I love to do always is to do a self-test.
Right.
And so you can measure for yourself if this stuff is working or not. And what we're going to do, we're going to slow down our breathing to the max. Yeah, and then I'm going to time 1 minute and you count how many times you're breathing. Just for the people listening, if you do breath work, you always want to make sure you're safe. And this is pretty light what we're doing, but you cannot do this driving a car, nor in the water, nor standing up with your baby in your hands, you know, juggling knives, not a good idea. On your bicycle, better not.
Don't do it, right?
That's
safety
dangerous.
Precautions first, right? I love it.
Safety precautions. Now, what we're going to do is slow down our breathing for 1 minute, so you can already start slowing down your breathing if you like. And then we're going to do 5 minutes of breathing. And then again, we're going to measure how slow you breathe. So basically, you can measure the change that you get within 5 minutes time. And why do we do slow breathing? Well, if you're really stressed or panicky, then you breathe really high in the chest and fast, hyperventilating. And if you're able to slow down your breathing in a moment of stress, you will see that the stress just disappears. So this is why we do this. All right, I will count to 3 and time 1 minute. Please count the number of times that you're breathing. In and out is 1 count. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Timing. Slow it down. Fill up your belly, your chest all the way to the top, and then breathe out slower. Notice what this does to you. Just slowing down your breathing. Breathe as slow as you can. And this is 1 minute. I'm going to ask you later what the difference was. For now, we breathe nose in, mouth out, and first to the belly. Like breathe deep to the belly, but please not only to the chest. So use your belly as well. Like 80% in and 80% out is good enough until I ask you to breathe fully in and fully out. We're taking 5 deep breaths. Here we go. Extra deep. And empty your lungs completely. Everything out, out, out. Now take a deep breath in and hold. Holding here for 10 seconds. I'm counting. And breathe out long and slow. Okay. Round 2. Again. Breathe in deep. In deep. Let go. In deep. Let go. In deep. Let go. Number 5, extra deep. Breathe fully in, everything 100%, and everything out, out, out. Empty your lungs completely, completely, completely. Now breathe in and hold. 10 seconds. I'm counting. Keep your shoulders nice and low. If you become very dizzy, make sure you have something to hold on to. Another 5. And breathe out long and slow. All right. Round 3. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Extra deep in. All the way and everything out. Empty your lungs completely, completely. Push it out, out, out. And now take a deep breath in and hold. Hold it at the top. 10 seconds. Bit dizzy or tingling sensations is normal. And breathe out. Long, slow, everything out again. We're doing 2 more rounds. Take 5 deep breaths. Breathe in deep. Breathe out. Breathe in deep. And breathe out. Breathe in deep. Let go of the breath. In deep. And out. Now extra deep in. All the way. And empty your lungs completely. Everything out, out, out. And take a deep breath in. And hold again for 10 seconds. Shoulders nice and low. Maybe feet on the ground if you're sitting on a chair. Another 5. And breathe out everything again. Last round. Breathe in deep. Nose in, mouth out. Yes. In deep. Let go. In deep. Let go. In deep. Let go. Extra deep. Fully in. Everything out. Empty your lungs, empty your lungs. Now take a deep breath in and hold again for the last time. Hold it. 10 seconds. 5 more. And breathe out. Let go of your breath. Now again, start slowing down your breathing. I will count to 3 and again time 1 minute. And now you're going to really slow down your breathing and go to a very deep state of meditation. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, timing. And this is 1 minute. Of course, more important than counting is how you feel.
I don't want to open my eyes. I don't want to breathe.
Amazing, right? I didn't hear that. You look happy.
I am very happy, as you can tell. I'm zoned out. Like, thank you, goodbye. Wow, this
So this is my
Mm.
signature. You don't know what to do. Do this in the morning. Do this to prepare for an important meeting. I'm teaching a lot in the corporate world. And this is a tool to really get out of your head into your body, be calm, focused in 5 minutes time, or even 3 minutes if you do three rounds.
I love it. So this would be what you refer to as the the TT5 technique.
Yes.
Wow. For those who was listening who didn't actually follow along, I would just suggest pause this podcast, rewind 5 minutes, and just do it, because this is not an intellectual game. This is actually something you need to practice, something you need to experience.
Do you notice how you speak different? Imagine I have one of my clients is a sales guy, Carlos, in the USA, and he was in the middle and he goes to his sales meeting 10 minutes early. In his car, he does this breathing, and he became the top salesman. He's making, like, I don't know, millions, but a lot of money now because of this very simple technique. Because do you notice that you're more quiet, you're calmer, less reactive, your voice is maybe a little bit different? You know, this you can use this like in a very practical way. Just
Love it.
reset. Yeah.
And for those of us who are like addicted to the science part of it, could you just briefly explain, Tim, what is happening physiology, to our physiology when we actually practice this breathing technique?
Yeah, that's the science. I love the science, and that is. I'm actually giving tonight at 7 a science session online. It's a 3-hour session. So,
Wow.
what is happening exactly is this. I think this is the better part of the science. Is why people are so special compared to other animals. Yeah, if you look at our nervous system, we have a central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, and we have the peripheral nervous system. Yeah, to every part of our body, the nerves are going, all the organs, tips of your fingers, just name it, and there's a nerve there. And if you look at the peripheral nervous system, you can make a distinction. This is going to sound familiar. The autonomic nervous system, you know, everything that happens automatically in your body. And the somatic. Somatic is movement. You know, I feel thirsty, I reach out to my glass of water, you know, for example. That is more like outside world. And inside world is autonomic. You know, stress, temperature, hormonal release, inflammation response, like all that. Now, if you look at the breath, for normal animals, the breath is always autonomic. Yeah, if a dog starts running, at a certain moment, he starts breathing heavier. And if you pull a dog on the water, don't do this at home, kids. If you pull a dog on the water, he will hold his breath. But you cannot tell a dog, breathe deeper and faster, or hold your breath. So only humans can do that, like consciously changing the breath. And with that, we have a direct effect on the autonomic nervous system. So I could explain every detail, but what breathing exercises like this do, you become calmer. Well, you just tested that. You went from how many breaths to how many breaths?
So my first minute, I did 2 full breaths. In, out, in, out. On my second round, I just breathed in and I didn't want to breathe out again. So I did half a breath. So reducing it to 25%.
Yeah. So it's 400% growth in 5 minutes time. Do you see what the power of breath work is? Anyway, apart from stress relief, we can reduce inflammation with techniques like this. So inflammation, chronic inflammation is a big problem in the world. You can use it, the more intenser techniques, because this is the coming in technique, but there are many more, you know, like similar kind of techniques that are a little bit more intense. But for example, one of my instructors in Norway, Lisa Refheim, contact her. She's amazing. She's working with ex-addicts, people that have been on drugs, and they want something to replace that. Call it a dopamine shot. Yeah, so you can use it like that too. Dopamine is released. You can release serotonin through breathing properly. Inflammation response, effect on your hormones.
Melatonin, I guess.
Now, melatonin, well, you can make more red blood cells. And you can also make the molecule called tryptamine. And tryptamine is the foundation molecule of not only melatonin, but also serotonin and DMT. So if there's a lot of that available, you easier make melatonin and serotonin and DMT as well. And, you know, of course, you can use techniques like this to fall asleep better and stuff like that. Just notice if you have a busy day, you're still in your head, or you drink too much coffee and you want to go to bed, just do something like this and you will be able to sleep just because you calm down and you reset your brain.
So are there any warnings, except for all of the precautions you mentioned previously, like maybe I'm not comfortable with becoming dizzy, because there was some kind of dizziness, tingling sensation, like you mentioned as well in the middle there, right? So would a good start be then to start with 2 rounds maybe, and then work yourself all the way up to 5, or?
The dizziness is, this is pretty light, you can do this, and the dizziness is really not dangerous. It's just because you blow off a lot of CO2. We talk about science.
Right.
So there's nothing dangerous about it. But of course, you know, if after 3 rounds it feels uncomfortable, it's enough for today. That's a scientific fact that we're breathing the rest of our lives. So you can try a little today and tomorrow again. And my, you know, like my advice would be do it every day before breakfast. And if you do that, it's in your system and you remember it. Ah, yeah, breathing slowly. Or I feel stressed. I have my most important client and he's such a difficult person. You know, in 10 minutes time, go outside, sit down, 5 minutes, 1 minute slow breathing, get back, and you're completely quiet in the mind.
So becoming active instead of reactive to life, right? And taking life by its reins and not being like hijacked by everyday things in your everyday life. And I also love the fact, like you mentioned, do it before breakfast, because you actually tune your body into being more, you know, have a better digestive system when your parasympathetic nervous system is activated.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, some people, some people use this. I coach a group of people in the UK that were ex-alcoholics, and now a big challenge for them is that they are off the alcohol, but now they replace their craving for alcohol with a craving for food, so they become overweight. You know, like still not happy. Damn. So what I advise is do 5 minutes of breathing before every big meal. Your digestive system is more active, but also you eat slower, you're calmer, so you're less likely to overeat. So we don't have to immediately quit everything. You just add things, you find out what works, and you will notice that your life slowly changes into a direction of more energy, more happiness, better focus, less stress.
So I'm curious, Tim, how old are your kids? You mentioned that you have 5 of them.
They're 24, 22, 19, 10, and 3.
That's amazing spread. You've been active for many, many years. So how do you transfer this knowledge to your kids when you have found all of this?
Good question.
Good techniques in your own life.
Well, first of all, I never push, you know, because I tell them, and I also tell my clients that, like, you know, I'm very aware that I don't know everything. I tell my kids too, you know, and whether I'm the authority, the teacher, or the authority, the parent, I want my kids to listen to themselves. So I'm always saying, and this is kind of a paradox, don't listen to me. So they will always listen to me, because if they listen to me, they listen to me. If they don't listen to me, they're also listening to me.
I love it.
I'm like, nah, 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 nah. And the older kids I've brought to Curacao when I was teaching there, and the 2 girls to Brazil in separate times. I go to Brazil every year. And so they join me on my trips now and then. And basically I just practice it. And then whenever they want to join, they join. So my son of 24, he's ending his shower cold already for years. He doesn't do the breath work, and I don't force him to. My daughter of 22 is a total health freak. She has a bigger morning routine than I do. She's telling me like, okay, I'm doing this now. We breathe together. It's really cool. And my other daughter, she's practicing it sometimes when she needs it. And then I have the little one of 10. I'm also giving cold exposure. So I put people in an ice bath. He has been in an ice bath already. And the little one of 3, when I'm breathing, he's just looking very serious and like he's joining me. But I think the most important thing is to not push them. And also I use self-tests like the one we just did, slow breathing. There are other self-tests too. When my son was 15, I showed him that through a few minutes of breathing, you can be twice as strong in terms of push-ups. And, you know, he was really amazed, you know, by that. And this is the way to show them. Like with the smaller kids when they're 5, 6, because you don't, you know, they're not interested in joining deep breathing. They're not interested in health or any of that. But what they are interested in is holding their breath underwater. So,
right.
but what I basically do, because you cannot do this in the water, right? The deep breathing. What I do, I just do the 1 minute of really slow breathing. And then they can hold their breath. Like I remember my son Liam, who's now 10, he was 4. He was holding his breath 15, 20 seconds underwater. And then we did 1 minute of slow breathing. And then after that, a full minute. A 4-year-old that can hold his breath for a minute. And that is just super cool. And all these kids, and nobody has exam fears because they remember the bathtub where we played slow breathing and then holding the breath. And before every exam, all the girlfriends are, yelling, "Oh my God, I don't know enough." And they just slow down their breathing and they're completely okay and they're focused and they don't have exam fear. Yeah, so very playfully is the short answer to.
I love it. And also just having you in their life, watching you actually doing this work every day, like in different situations. I guess that's like the role modeling is probably the most powerful part of it.
Yeah, I think so.
So being a breath nerd myself, what about mouth taping? Where are you on mouth taping?
Oh, yeah, I love it. I think mouth taping, well, if you are, you're breathing through the nose, you don't have to exaggerate it, like within the, let's call it the health community, whether it's breath work or whatever. If you exaggerate, you start to live in your head too much. You know what I mean? So I'm always for 20% of the work, 80% of the result. But mouth taping, if you have asthma or you're snoring, you're likely breathing through the mouth at night. And so you want to tape your mouth. You can buy really expensive oxygen advantage tape. Wouldn't do that. Just micro pore. And just make like a little, I call it a little Hitler mustache.
Yeah. The Charlie Chaplin way, or the Hitler mustache.
Charlie Chaplin is better. So you can still breathe through the mouth and speak a little. And then sleep with that. So mouth taping is amazing. Yet I'm not doing it every night, only if I feel like, there's flu in the air or I feel my nose is blocked, I would do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it. But my son of 10, he watches too many YouTube videos. So I made a deal with him. You watch videos, if you tape your mouth. Yeah, so he's watching a video and I just get a piece of tape and put it on his mouth, and then he's nose breathing because he's super allergic and he's always breathing through his mouth. So that's what I also use with kids. Yeah, mouth taping is very good.
I think that's a great way also to introduce. I suggested this to a mom I spoke to the other day. Like, what if when you two watching children's television together, just like tape your own mouth and tape your son's mouth and just like make it fun, make it as a game and
make it fun. Yeah.
At least then you know that he will be breathing through his nose while watching television. And probably this term that they have called now mobile apnea, where you just sit and stare on your computer or your tablet or your phone and your chin falls down, your mouth is open, and you just get into this, breathing stops while concentrating on whatever you're watching on,
Yeah, it's a sign you're stressed.
Yeah.
If you unconsciously hold your breath, it's a sign you're stressed, or it's a mechanism of your body to get over the stress, you could say. But you can, if you do that consciously, a very simple technique that I use with putting people in an ice bath and that go into a complete panic attack, which is a normal reaction, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you take a deep breath in, and then you hold for 2 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8 seconds or longer. And this is like the technique to get over hyperventilation. And I'm instructing instructors now because I want the whole world to know about how just a 15 seconds, one breath, 4 counts in, hold for 2, 8 counts out. It's about 15 seconds. How that can calm you down. How you can go from high anxiety, stress, even a panic attack, into a deep state of calmness by using your breath. It's amazing. I'm so, every time I'm amazed. It's like you see the airplane fly, the physics, and every time you're like, but it's still weird, such a heavy thing. And I have the same with breath work. I'm every time amazed how this works.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
and how simple techniques can make such a major shift. So just to repeat that, the technique you just mentioned, 4 seconds counting in, holding your breath for 2 seconds and counting out for at least at the count of 8.
Or longer.
Or longer, of course, if you want. So try to combine this with cold baths. I guess it's very, very efficient. So let's just dive into, because like me, like many others have been completely, you know, I'm such a fan. I'm like a little bit disappointed now in June. It's warm outside. The water temperature is so high. We can hardly call it cold baths anymore in Norway. But, you know, we've been doing it through all the winters for the last few years, and it's so invigorating, and like
It is, right?
I feel like such an addict to life when I go cold bathing. But like for those who haven't discovered this fantastic treat yet, why should they? How can we get people started? How can they play with it?
Well, I would say enter your shower cold and use this 4 to 8 breathing. And you can use this also when you go in the sea, you know, in January. But start with ending your shower cold. And you're showering hot, you put it on cold, you get out, then you take a deep breath in. While holding 2 counts, you get under the cold water. And the moment you would normally freak out and run away, you're breathing out. And when you breathe out, you calm down. And when you breathe in, you energize. When you breathe out, you calm down. So if you want to calm down, make your breath out longer. And you stand under it. And the moment you feel the cold water, you're breathing out. And you will notice it's a completely different experience than when you don't do this breathing technique. And then again, you take a deep breath in, and while holding, you turn around. And the moment it hits your back, you're breathing out again. And that is the best way to start. Minimal training, ending your shower cold, 30 seconds. If you do that for 2-3 months, an ice bath is really relatively easy. You know, because your blood vessels are already trained. So the breathing is also cardiovascular training, but so is cold exposure. With cold exposure, also you bring inflammation down, you increase metabolism, you don't like the gym and you want to drop weight, it's time to pick up your cold exposure. It's a training of the cardiovascular system, and this is the #1 cause of death, even above cancer. Somewhere near the brain or near the heart, a blood vessel pops, and then that was the end of your life, you know?
Yeah.
So to be able to train your cardiovascular system with something as simple as breathing or cold exposure or exercise for that matter, every day a little bit, yeah, I believe this is the way to become 150.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And having fun while enjoying like all of the days of your life.
And not per se, you don't have to be a complete health freak. You know, like I never tell my clients like, oh, you should stop drinking. I don't tell them to stop smoking. No, forget it. You know, and that's you know that. You know what's good for you. You know that certain foods are better than other foods. But there's also some part of us like you want to go out for dinner and you put a bottle of wine and eat like red meat, you know, whatever your opposite of detoxing is. You know, we should be able to do that, or have you know, like you're spontaneously on a Wednesday going out with colleagues and you drink a bit too much and it becomes late and you sleep only 3 hours and the next day you have a full day at the company. We should be able to do that. You know, we can grow to more of a human. I call it the human 2.0, you know, the upgraded version. And really simply by doing every day a bit of exercise, a bit of breathing, a bit of cold exposure. That's it, just a little. And then automatically you will go, I don't know, maybe yoga, maybe CrossFit, maybe do more breathing, maybe cold plunge in the winter in Norway. You know, it will build up bit by bit. We don't have to do a lot to change.
I love that. And I also think that when we start experiencing with like activating our own inner pharmacy, maybe our need for external, you know, impulse rising, you know, substances become less. Like maybe they are reduced. Maybe when I get these natural kicks, I feel less prone to, you know, go and numb myself, which is what a lot of, you know, these products do.
Yeah, of course. That's exactly. So I like to add something and not tell people, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." There's too many health freaks already in the world.
Yeah.
And also, I'd say, no, you should do that, but you should be able to be fully focused the next day at work, even though you sleep 4 hours and you
Yeah.
drank a bit too much.
Mm.
So I'm not against any of that, but slowly by doing the work and just a little bit every day, you will likely see that maybe you don't feel like opening that bottle of wine anymore every day.
Yeah. Or
You
maybe
know?
they just take a glass instead of the whole bottle.
Yeah.
So tell me just a little bit like the brown fat that is activated. I just read a report on this recently, and it's something about around your collarbones where it's actually most. How does that?
So brown fat. Yeah, let me give a little bit of an introduction. Brown fat is the good fat.
Yes.
The white fat that is around the belly, that we want to drop, that is not brown fat. So brown fat is a good thing.
Yes.
And brown fat is activated when you get into the cold, and it like burns. It is like a shortcut from glucose immediately into heat. Well, normally glucose becomes ATP. ATP is transferred to certain parts of your body, and then it becomes heat. So it's like a shortcut within our body, and it's basically made for people that are a little bit thinner. Thinner people have more brown fat. Also, more flexible people have more brown fat because they need to heat up. Like they need an ability to heat up. So first of all, brown fat is a good thing. And where is it located? It was thought in the beginning that it's located like in the chest, in between the collarbones. But we know now that it's also around organs. Makes sense, around your heart, around your kidneys, because it has to stay warm. This without heart we cannot live. So that part has to stay warm. So it's not only in our chest and in our back. And then the question is, does cold training increase brown fat? Well, it does for sure. If you practice cold exposure, your metabolism goes up. You're dropping weight because you're thinner. You have more brown fat. Like that for sure. But more and more, it was like already like a fixed thing, but I never really saw the signs of it. And I'm very critical. I love science. If I call something a truth, there's scientific backup. Otherwise, it's just a belief system. And I didn't really see the signs, but now more and more science is coming out that cold exposure is actually creating brown fat. So, and whether that is because you become thinner first or because you have more brown fat and burn more glucose, your metabolism goes up. It doesn't really matter. It's a bit chicken egg, but it's good stuff. And so far, or up to like 10 years ago, we thought only babies had a lot of brown fat.
Right.
Because babies cannot move or tell their mom or pop, hey, give me a jacket, I'm cold. So they have more brown fat, so they can heat up easily, basically.
Right.
But now it's found that brown fat is also in adults.
I love this. Good news all around. So even if you needed one more argument to start with cold plunges, this is it. Brown fat. So for those who are curious, Tim, where can we find you? Like, I know that you host retreats, you do workshops all over the world. You were just here in Bergen recently, visiting Maria again. So, but you're coming back. So please tell us, where can we find you?
I'm coming back 7, 8 October.
On October 7th and 8th. And are you coming to Bergen then, or?
Yes, I'm coming to Bergen. I always come to Bergen because my friends are there and I love it. I love it very much. I want to live there, but only in the summer. And basically what I do, I give in-person training, workshops like in Bergen, or retreats like 7 to 13 September. I'm going to Japan, climbing Mount Fuji in a t-shirt. Amazing. I'm really looking forward. So in person, and then I do a lot of corporate sessions because basically I can explain in a very short way, how people in the corporate world that are maybe a little bit more rational, although I find a lot of really spiritual people within the corporate world too, but it's more like, let's keep it sane. what we say should be backed up by science. And I like that. So I've been in the corporate world too. So I know how it works. I give corporate sessions. And that is really what I want to teach also in the corporate world, because people are very stressed in the corporate world. And I have tools that are so simple that, within an hour of teaching, you can change your life forever. So corporate things, and then I'm giving online programs, which is my big thing is to instruct other people to become a breathwork instructor. And that is not only my own techniques, because, for example, oxygen advantage, you need to, or Buteco, which the mouth taping is from that, and breathe through your nose. You need to have like a broad range of knowledge about the breathwork community to be a good breathwork instructor. So you can give a person what they need and not what you have learned. It's really a problem I see in the breathwork world, is somebody that has learned rebirthing, it's a kind of technique, is only doing rebirthing, and as an answer to everything, it's rebirthing. And that can be dangerous even, and I can really give intense sessions, but safety is very, very important. So I'm teaching other instructors, and that is like a 3-level program, in total 24 weeks of group coaching with a lot of online backup material and a retreat together. And that level 1 can also be done by people who say, like, I don't want to become an instructor, I just want to learn about breath work. That's at level 1. And it's called Control Your Breath, of course.
Right. Let's start there. That sounds nice. So I really love what you're saying about having a foundation in your own knowledge before you start sharing with others, because, or else, if I only have a hammer, I think that's my solution to all the problems that arise in my life, right? So we need to have a toolbox that is a little bit more, what should I say, diverse.
Yeah.
So
and within my program, you also build up your practice. Like we have different techniques, and then for a week you're going to practice that technique. And that what happens then is you're going to speak from experience. And somebody who speaks from experience is super authentic. So you want to be an authentic teacher, you need to do the work yourself as well. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah. Such an important reminder to all of us who also are teachers, like we need to do the work first.
I know. Yeah.
So for those who have been listening and maybe also breathing along together with us, and still feel like a bit of reluctance or maybe fear, or not feeling like they're not convinced yet, not that you should be in the business of convincing anyone, but what's your one tip? Where can you start? What can I do? What's the first thing I can practice? Like where to start?
With me, you mean I have a
very... No, or like in general.
Practice every day a little bit. And I have this 5-day mini course on my website.
So what's your website? We have to, of course, include that one.
It's timvandervliet.com. So should I spell that because people are listening? Or
Tim van der Vliet. Yeah, we can just, for those who are just listening, we can spell it as well.
Okay, so it's TIM and then VANDERVLIET. Tim van der Vliet.
Yes. So that's your website. And I also know that you have a YouTube channel with lots of resources. So there's a free 5-day mini course on your website and that people can follow along. That would be a great intro to more of what we have just talked about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what about yourself, Tim? And just I'm always curious when meeting other breath instructors, what does your morning routine look like?
I'm doing I do the 5 Tibetan rites. That's also in that level 1 Control Your Breath program. I do if I really don't want to do anything, I do the arm twist. This is how you start out. And it's basically sending blood to the spine. Your deepest core is your spine. A healthy spine, it starts with a healthy spine. And then you move to the Tibetan rite. So I'm doing 7 times the Tibetan rite, and it really takes me 2-3 minutes. And then I do 5 minutes of breathing, and I end my shower cold 1-2 minutes maybe. So I do really minimal training, but then 4 days a week I go to hot yoga, or I teach a lot of breathing, and I'm kind of always breathing with people, to tune into people or to a group. So I'm doing a lot of breath work, but somewhere in the afternoon I do another breath work session, and then I do more sports if I feel like it. I gave it up in COVID times for like a year, and I didn't gain a gram. So just the 2-3 minutes. So in the beginning, maybe you need to work a bit and change your food a bit. But at a certain moment, you're at your optimal weight. And then really a few minutes per day, just activating. Your body remembers. You get more energy, and you don't grow any weight. So it's not that I need to do the hot yoga. I just love to do it. So I'm going there, I think 3-4 times a week on average.
I think that has a lot to say with all kinds of activities we fill our lives with. Let it be filled with joy and something that you enjoy instead of like flight and, have to do this. So, Tim, thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom and your experiences and also the practices. And please note, everyone listening, October 7th and October 8th, that would probably be the best way to catch up with Tim in real life in the near future in Bergen in October.
Yeah, and we have 2 websites. One is Maria June, the yoga instructor, One Slow Yogi. You can find her like that on Instagram. So on her website and on my website, you can find TT School, which is all the breathwork certification and control your breath. And you can find products and services, and it says workshop, and there's a list of workshops. So,
I love that.
If you like, Japan is on there too. So just go to my website, and my WhatsApp button is there too. If you can't find it, just send me a text. And
I love that. We will be able to find you if we'll just go looking. So thank you so much, and I will hopefully see you live one bright day as well. Thank you, Tim.
Yes, let's meet in October. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.